Today, I'll talk about different challenges in sustaining digital journalism ventures. The transformation brought about by digital media has fundamentally reshaped the field of journalism, altering the ways in which news is produced, disseminated, and consumed. Traditional journalism now grapples with numerous challenges arising from the rapid, fragmented, and hyper-connected environments of digital platforms. Here, I will analyze the changing role of journalism within contemporary digital media enterprises, focusing on the critical challenges confronting media professionals today. Now, the key concerns will include the erosion of foundational journalistic principles, the growing dominance of algorithms and metrics in determining news value, and the constant pressure to deliver real time updates, often at the cost of depth and accuracy. The rise of misinformation further complicates the landscape, underscoring the urgent necessity for robust fact checking mechanisms to uphold journalistic integrity. Here, I'll first focus on the economic constraints facing media organizations, particularly the transition to revenue models based on audience engagement metrics such as clicks, subscriptions, and sponsored advertising. These pressures can at times compromise editorial independence and influence content decisions. Nevertheless, digital media also presents opportunities for innovation. It enables journalism or journalistic practices to become more interactive, accessible, and dynamic, encouraging new forms of storytelling and deeper audience engagement. So, by offering different strategies for navigating the evolving media environment while reaffirming the essential values that underpin credible journalism in the digital age is the key focus of this discussion. Now, the digital revolution has profoundly transformed the field of journalism, presenting both remarkable opportunities and complex challenges. As the newsroom ecosystem transitions from traditional print and broadcast formats to digital platforms, journalists must adapt to a media environment shaped by speed, interactivity, and also data driven strategies. Today, news is accessible across multiple devices, often at no cost, ushering in an era of widespread information availability and audience empowerment. This shift has democratized content creation, allowing virtually anyone with internet access to publish and disseminate information. While this inclusivity broadens public discourse, it simultaneously undermines the traditional gatekeeping role of professional journalism. Among the most pressing concern is the erosion of core journalistic values such as accuracy, impartiality, and accountability. This competition to publish breaking news often prioritizes speed over depth and verification, leading to superficial, sensationalized, or even misleading reporting. The competitive dynamics of digital platforms further exacerbate this problem. Algorithms that reward engagement tend to amplify emotionally charged or polarizing content, steering newsrooms toward stories that are more likely to generate clicks than to inform. This environment fosters a culture of clickbait, overshadowing rigorous investigative journalism. Compounding to this is the challenge is the rampant spread of misinformation and disinformation, so called fake news, which proliferates across social media at a pace that legitimate news outlets struggle to match. Deepfake technologies and AI generated content have made the task of discerning truth from falsehood even more difficult, intensifying the public's skepticism and eroding trust in journalism. Economic pressures further constrain the industry. Traditional revenue streams, mainly advertising and subscriptions, have been disrupted in the digital age. Online media often relies on monetization strategies tied to traffic metrics such as page views and digital subscriptions, which can distort editorial priorities and compromise journalistic independence. As ad revenues decline, many media organizations face cost cutting measures that result in newsroom downsizing and reduced capacity for in depth reporting. Yet, amid these challenges, digital media also offers powerful opportunities for innovation. Real time reporting, multimedia storytelling, and interactive formats enable deeper audience engagement and richer narrative experiences. So, digital platforms can transcend geographic and socio-economic boundaries, broadening access to information and amplifying diverse voices. The role of the journalist has been evolved in tandem with these changes. Journalists today must take up multiple roles like reporter, content creator, curator, and fact checker while mastering digital tools such as data analytics, multimedia production, and social media management. The emergence of citizen journalism further blurs this distinction between professionals and the public, raising complex questions about standards, ethics, and credibility in reporting. So, I will analyze the dual nature of digital media as both a challenge and a catalyst for modern journalism. I'll critically examine the structural, ethical, and economic hurdles faced by today's journalists, and I'll propose adaptive strategies to uphold journalistic integrity. So, by balancing both innovation with fundamental principles of journalism like truth, accountability, and service to the people or the public, digital journalism can continue to fulfill its vital role in a democratic society. So, first, I have to explain the impact of technological advancement on journalism. The rapid evolution of digital technology obviously has profoundly reshaped the landscape of journalism, influencing every stage of the news production and consumption process. Pavlik, one of the media scholars, highlighted that innovations in digital tools have empowered journalists to deliver real time reporting, employ multimedia storytelling techniques, and foster greater audience interaction. Platforms such as blogs, social media, and online news portals have democratized news production, enabling non professional contributors to participate actively in the dissemination of information. As a result, the boundaries between professional journalism and citizen journalism have increasingly getting obliterated, raising important concerns about credibility, authenticity, and journalistic accountability. While technology has enhanced the speed and reach of news dissemination, it has also introduced significant challenges. So, Bradshaw and Rahuma argued in 2017 that the immediacy enabled by digital media often places excessive pressure on journalists to prioritize speed over accuracy and analytical depth. So, the emergence of 24/7 news cycle driven by the demands of digital platforms allows limited time for fact checking or comprehensive investigative reporting practices that once defined journalistic excellence. This erosion of traditional journalistic values has been widely addressed in different scholarly discourses. Anderson, Bale, and Sharkey in 2014 contended that the transition to post industrial journalism has compromised the profession's ability to uphold high standards of quality, ethics, and public responsibility. As digital tools continue to redefine newsroom practices, the challenge remains consistent: how to harness technological advancement while preserving the foundational principles of journalism. The second concern is challenges of misinformation and declining trust. The rise of misinformation, commonly referred as fake news, has emerged as one of the most crucial challenges in the digital media environment. Social media platforms, where much of the content is user generated and largely unregulated, have become the fertile springboard for the rapid spread of false and misleading information. Thus, Carlson in 2018 warns that the speed and scale at which misinformation circulates online pose a direct threat to journalism's traditional role as a gatekeeper of truth. He argues that this trend not only erodes public confidence in the media but also jeopardizes democratic process by exposing individuals to manipulated, biased, or entirely fabricated narratives. Bell in 2016 examines that the impact of algorithm driven content curation, particularly on platforms like Facebook, Twitter, where engagement is prioritized over accuracy, the problems are more critical. These algorithms tend to amplify emotionally charged or sensational content regardless of its veracity, thus reinforcing the spread of misinformation. Napoli in 2019 further critiques the economic incentives embedded in digital media systems, noting that business models based on clickbaits, shares, and engagement metrics encourage the proliferation of clickbait and misleading content. As media outlets strive to remain competitive in a saturated digital market, they may compromise on editorial stringency in favor of attention grabbing headlines. The issue of declining public trust in journalism has been a consistent theme in contemporary media scholarship. So, Scottson in 2019 argues that the fragmentation of the media landscape, characterized by an overwhelming number of sources and voices, has made it increasingly difficult for audiences to distinguish credible journalism from unreliable or agenda driven content. This erosion of trust has contributed to widespread skepticism toward mainstream media, complicating journalists' effort to deliver accurate, balanced, and trustworthy information in an era defined by information overload and digital noise. The third challenge is the economic pressure and shifts in revenue model. The transition to digital media has not only revolutionized news production and consumption system, but has also profoundly disrupted the traditional economic foundations of journalism. Historically, news organizations or media houses sustained themselves through advertising revenue and subscription fees. However, with the digital migration, these revenue models have been totally disrupted. Picardo in 2014 notes that advertising revenues have increasingly shifted towards digital giants like Google and Facebook, leaving traditional media companies with diminishing profit margins. This economic transformation has encouraged the rise of clickbait journalism, where content is tailored to maximize clicks and shares rather than to inform. So, Farusi in 2017 argued that this trend has led to the commodification of news, where sensationalism and speed are prioritized over journalistic quality or integrity. Investigative journalism, resource intensive and time consuming, has particularly suffered, with many outlets reducing or eliminating in depth reporting, as per reports by Elridge in 2019. Now, to adapt digital media, enterprises have explored alternative revenue streams such as paywalls, membership, and crowdfunding. Franklin and Elridge, both the scholars in 2017, assessed that these models as partially successful, though they are also highlighting such approaches can create barriers to information access, thereby reinforcing digital divides. In response, non-profit journalism organizations have gained prominence by aiming to uphold public service journalism without the commercial pressures that often compromise editorial independence.